It's the world's greatest super friends, Batman and Robin, Superman, Wonder Woman and Aquaman, banded together to protect the universe from the forces of evil, the Super Friends.
Hey everybody, welcome back, welcome in. Thanks for joining us one more time. Thanks for hitting the download button, and thanks for telling a friend. We love it when you tell a friend, when you share, if you enjoy what you hear and what's going on. I'm Pastor Dave, sitting with Randall, the armor bearer, and we are They That Believe, and this will be another movie time. I guess. I don't know. I didn't intend to make it a regular thing.
Siskel and Ebert.
Perhaps.
Or
yeah.
Ebert and Roper, is that what it is now?
Ebert's dead.
Oh, so Siskel
it's just
and
Roper.
No, just Roper.
I don't know. I don't know if he has a partner now or not.
Oh.
I read Richard Roper's reviews. I was just thinking about him earlier today as I was listening to and perusing some of the other reviews about the movie that we're going to talk about today, Batman, Superman. We after 3 years of high anticipation, ever since after Man of Steel, when they were doing the Comic-Con circuit there, and then in San Diego at Hall H, they previewed basically just that logo. Mm-hmm. They said, here's what's coming up next, and we got the Batman Superman logo, or the Superman S stuck inside the Batman thing, and Harry Lennox recited that passage from Dark Knight Returns, which was, that pretty much tells you what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And then all our little fanboy senses just went to tingling. And
well, didn't it start with I Am Legend, that movie I Am Legend, when he's downtown and he sees the banner?
Famously, yeah. Just a little conceit of the movie. I don't, at that time, I don't know that anything like that was intended to be done. Well, no, what's the guy's name? Is it George Miller? The guy that did Mad Max. And he had intended and actually had a project that was just about ready to go into production. They had it cast and had costumes and all that. This was several years ago. A Justice League movie, you know about that? Where
I haven't heard about that one, no.
Yeah, Armie Hammer was going to be Batman, and some other people that I don't really remember, don't really know. There's still a little bit of talk out there, some concept art. And
Armie Hammer seems a little, I don't know, doesn't seem Batmanish to me.
Yeah, well, and he is and was young at the time, and I think the idea of that was to make a young Justice League, and so something different than, I don't know that it would have been bad, probably would have been pretty good. And that movie, or that project, has been talked about a lot recently because George Miller returned to his Mad Max roots and gave us that new Mad Max, Fury Road. So that then got folks talking, and remember this, remember that. Well, anyway, today we're going to talk about Batman v Superman v Lex Luthor v Wonder Woman v Doomsday v Pastor Dave v everybody. Everybody was in this movie but me, I think, just about, in some form or another. And what do you need to know before we begin? We're going to talk freely.
Yeah.
We've both seen it. And
Spoiler alert.
I've only seen it once. I know you've seen it at least once because we went together. Have you only seen it the one viewing?
I've seen it twice now.
You have? Uh-huh. Okay, good. That may bring some different perspective. I'll get to that in a minute, because I have heard different things from, the one thing I keep hearing is that people are liking it better with repeated viewings.
Right, you pick more out of it.
So we'll get to that just shortly. I'm glad that now, between the two of us, at least one of us has seen it more than once. I will get to Gretchen's on spring break. She's in Ohio. Nate's gone on spring break with his grandparents. So when Nate went with us. He's seen it. And when Gretchen gets back, I think she's interested in going, so we'll go see it. I'll get to see it at least one more time with her. I don't think I'm down for like 3, 4, 5 viewings, theater viewings.
Until it comes out on DVD or something.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that too, because we're going to get a big extended cut that I'm super excited about. Oh, well, anyway, like I was saying, we're going to speak freely about it. I don't want to use the word spoiler. Somebody pointed this out the other day, and I thought this made a lot of sense. A true spoiler may be something before the movie comes out. Say, I don't know, hypothetically, I've gone to an early press screening, and I've seen it, and you haven't, and you don't have an opportunity to because it's not open yet.
Yeah.
And I come in and tell you, oh, yeah, here's what happens. And that would ruin it for you. And not that it couldn't be ruined or spoiled now if people haven't seen it, but it's been out, it's been playing, so...
It's even on the internet now if you... You want to watch a bad version of it.
Kind of, it's semantics, I guess, but I don't know then at this point if that's a true spoiler. But either way, one way or another, if you haven't seen it, and if you're interested in not being spoiled, as it were, or having the viewing experience spoiled for you, you probably want to come back and listen to this later.
Throw this on the playlist for later.
Although at this point it's been much talked about and everything's pretty much on the internet, and you really have to make an effort to avoid it. And I did. I came close a couple of times. I would see a headline that would insinuate that whatever was in had information, and I wanted so badly to click. I forced myself not to. No, just go in and
You're telling me there's a lot of fake spoilers out too beforehand.
Yes, I mentioned the last time we were here, there was somebody had posted something that supposedly had been to an early press screening, and even though they were under a non-disclosure or something like that, they went ahead and supposedly tipped us off on all this stuff on the internet. And I didn't want to get into that last time we were here. I couldn't remember all of it, didn't have time, but now having seen the movie, most of that stuff was whoever put that up, no.
Trolling.
Yeah, it was not, that was not an accurate report, which in one sense is kind of disappointing because I kind of wanted to see that. So I was a little excited about that, but either way, well, let's start here and let's paint with very broad strokes. Again, we're just going to talk freely just like we did in the car on the way coming back from the movie. We've seen it. If you've seen it, keep listening. If not, and if you don't want to be spoiled, turn it off. I'm telling you, we're going to talk about it from front to back to everything else. Okay. So before we get into, and I'm hopeful maybe we can do better than we did with Star Wars, and that was my fault. Before we go all over the place, maybe we can try to sort of stay organized or compartmentalized here. First, broad strokes. Did you like it, love it, hate it? And maybe if you had to give it I don't know how you score them now. How many popcorn buckets or stars or,
Rotten Tomatoes
3 out of 5 or 8 out of 10 or 6 or whatever. Just paint with some broad strokes right now and just your general impression. And maybe the impression as it changed the first time you saw it. Let's start there. Let's just do that. First impression. It's, a week ago we've gone to see the movie. We walked out. What are you left thinking? What's your feeling when you leave?
I love the movie. I really did. I think visually it's probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long time.
There's no dispute about, now we'll talk about Zack Snyder, the director. One thing that I don't think can be in dispute, no matter whether he's made a quote-unquote good or bad movie, anytime, is that the guy knows how to shoot.
Right.
He knows how to frame a shot.
I was even impressed with the 3D. I mean, because usually I don't like 3D movies.
Oh, yeah, we saw it in 3D, too.
I was kind of, I was really impressed with the 3D.
Okay, so I loved it. You liked it visually. Okay. Anything else? Again, just broad strokes. We'll get into specifics here in a moment. But
I think the story probably stuck closer to what the actual fans wanted or what the fans would have been into, closer than any of the other movies I've seen, any of the other comic book movies.
Interesting that you say that. Now, my first impression coming out of there would have been the same. Here's what I have found, though, in the days that followed, and I've kind of been doing a little informal polling and listening to people that I know, and I know what you're talking about, because Snyder borrowed very heavily from several different well-known storylines.
Canon, if you will. He borrowed from the universe. Canon universe.
Most directly that we knew, obviously, was Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. The big fight between Batman and Superman, pretty much. Now, the story is different. The context and why they're there is a little different. But visually, he almost lifted it straight off the pages of that book. Also, Crisis on Infinite Earths, there was maybe what I thought was maybe kind of a nod to that. I'll get into that in a minute. And famously, the ending, which we'll talk about shortly too, which is, and there were some other smaller things along the way. I picked up maybe some new 52 stuff. I think looked like Aquaman was coming out of the Marianas Trench or whatever, things like that. But we'll get into that. So what you're talking about, and I get that. See, now, as a fan, as a reader, as a guy who's looking for all those things, it's appealing to me, and I like that when I see it there.
It's like there was some Easter eggs in it that,
Oh, always.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The fans or fanboys or however you want to call it, and Snyder is among those. He has a love for the source material, thankfully. I hate it when people make these movies and they don't, let's make a Fantastic Four movie. Let's disregard 50 years of source material. Yeah. Let's just do something.
I found this comic book laying underneath the bench outside. Maybe we should just go off of this one.
But I think those same fans, and maybe the ones that he is among and is making the movie for, were also some of the harshest critics.
Oh, yeah.
Now, of course, that's also because we go in with expectations. There's a certain movie that I want to see. I want it to look like this. I expect it to be something. And if it's not up to my little expectations, then I have a problem with it. And then you multiply that by a million people, and you get the impression people hate it. Here's what I have found, though, in the past week, talking to other people. One, a coworker who doesn't read comics, although he's kind of a casual fan of the superhero genre and all that. But, he doesn't know Crisis on Infinite Earths or, And just today, trading some messages on Facebook with a friend of mine, a girl I went to high school with, hairdresser, 2 kids, 2 boys, who, she wanted to take her boys to see it. She doesn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And she loved it.
Oh, I'm sure.
And here's the thing. She, and also my coworker that I'm talking about, most of the stuff in there, those little things we were just talking about, the references to those storylines or the Easter eggs, as you put it, or whatever. I mean, most of the people and the characters and the little hints went completely over their head.
Yeah.
Not because they're not bright. They're very smart people. They just don't have any knowledge of the source material. Now, that being said, because I walked out of there concerned thinking, man, because there was some deep cuts in there.
Right.
And I'm thinking, if I'm kind of having to struggle to pick them all up, what about the casual observer who has no knowledge of any of this? They're going to come in here, and I'm thinking they'll be lost.
Yeah.
They'll go, what's going on? What's going on?
I thought the same thing, but then as I watched it the second time, I kind of put myself in that mindset. And I was like, well, it would be a good movie even if you didn't know all that.
Exactly. That's what I found. I didn't think that coming out of it. I thought people like that would be frustrated and not like it because they would be confused. To the contrary, the people that I have talked to that don't have any knowledge really of the source material, that just went in, the only thing I really heard, like I heard from my hairdresser friend with the 2 boys, was like, she still just couldn't quite get her mind around that first hour. She's like, why are they fighting? They're supposed to be super friends, you know? So, but that was it, because I would mention some of the other stuff, and I said, well, we're going in to do a show about this. I said, so let me ask you some questions, because I was already kind of picking up on this idea that people that were ignorant of the material enjoyed it more. And no expectations, right?
Right.
They're not interested in these obscure,
they just want
but
2.5 hours entertainment.
Sure. And maybe somewhere somebody will explain why super friends are fighting.
Right.
But I asked her, I said, well, what about this scene? Did you understand what that nightmare sequence was? When that guy popped out and said, Lois is the key, you were right. I said, did you know who that was? Did you? So I'm going down and I'm kind of getting her reaction. I'm gauging, no, she had no clue about any of it.
Right.
And even when I tried to explain it to her, well, that was Flash, and he was running through the Speed Force and warning. She goes, well, I don't know who that is. See, I'm already operating at a level where I assume she even knows who Flash is.
Right.
She doesn't know who any of these people are. She knows Batman. So she told me, she said that girl in there, I didn't even know that was Wonder Woman until she showed up in her costume at the end. She had no clue watching the movie. And of course, if you went in without any knowledge of it, because she's not going to be like us. She's not been following news on this for 3 years, looking for every little update and pick from the set and stuff. She had no expectations going in. It's just, I'm going to take my boys to the movie. Maybe this will be interesting. And she loved it. Absolutely loved it. And doesn't seem to care. And doesn't seem to even, has not even processed that there's stuff that she didn't understand. Doesn't care.
And I wonder, too, how many people have seen it and go, I wonder what that's all about. I'm going to go find out. I'm going to go see what that's all about. And maybe fostered maybe a little bit of interest in comic books. I don't know.
Well, that would be good, too. But the problem with that is generally, I think, what that does to people, and this is so easy, and it's a problem in the comic world. There are so many reboots and parallel universes and multiverses and storylines, and a lot of times people don't even know where to start. To that, I'll say this. The best thing to do if you're interested, if you want to go to a comic shop and look, your commitment is only what you want to put into it. Like, if you just want to be a casual reader, you don't have to jump in and immediately be a collector and run around trying to track down a Batman 251 or something. Go to a store, preferably a good comic book shop, look around, look for a cover or something that looks interesting to you, and buy a book and just start reading. And
generally, the guys that run those places are really nice people. I mean, if you want to talk to them, don't waste a bunch of their time. But
where we live, they are.
Yeah.
I have had good experiences and have enjoyed the shops, even though they're not close to us, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, overall, as a generality, the comic book store crowd and staff and stuff generally have reputations of being snobby, in a nerdy kind of way, laughing at you if you bring the whatever kind of book they don't think is cool, or you know. And keep this in mind too, because if you say, well, I don't like Batman, I don't like Flash, I don't like people running around in leotards, Fat Wolverine or Fat Green Lantern. Look, that's only, now it's a big genre, probably the biggest, but it's only one. Comics have. I wouldn't even begin to know. There are horror-themed comics and drama and science fiction and
crime, mystery.
Right. So there's all kinds of stuff, and it's not all Spider-Man and Batman. Those are like the big comic book companies. We're off on a whole nother conversation now.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it encourages somebody, because I know that is a concern. It can be overwhelming when you get the sense of how difficult it is to follow all this and pick up on all these stories and stuff. So the key is basically disregard all that. Go look, walk around. If you see a book that looks interesting to you, pick it up and buy it and read it.
Yeah.
And don't feel like, and I'm like this. I don't like it if I feel like I'm picking up something or watching something and I don't know what's happening.
I hate picking something up in the middle.
Right. But what I'm saying is, for folks that are like me that do have that concern, and I think that's a lot of people, just put it aside.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching a soap opera, really. You can watch a soap opera now and 3 years from now, and you can probably fill in what's in the middle, between when you watch it. Comic books are, they have different storylines running back and forth, and you may pick up at the end of one storyline, but start at the beginning of another storyline.
And I like the trade paperbacks, too, if you don't want to get issue to issue to issue to issue. You can get collected editions, if somebody does an 8-issue, a 10-issue run, which is one complete storyline.
Right.
You don't have to go out and chase them all down. You can just get a paperback that has them all collected in one, and you can read the whole story.
A lot of websites, too, you can get used.
Oh, yeah,
paperback.
I do
all the time.
Yeah. So it's one of those, it's only as expensive a hobby as you make it. If you're a millionaire that's into collecting and you want the rare ones, you can. If you just got a few dollars and want something interesting to read, you can.
Yeah. If you're looking to invest in something that's going to pay off in the future, probably not a good idea.
No, not now. Not now.
No.
When those things came out, in the golden age, and they were basically worthless, they weren't expected to be valued at anything. Well, there were some very important things and issues that came out from very important writers who basically created the whole medium and in those early days. And to find a rare book now, in good condition.
They weren't even made to be kept. I mean, they were made to be read, maybe passed along, and then thrown away.
Old newsprint.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with all that is the books that are being produced now. No.
Yeah.
And one thing they do that really annoys me because the reboots come more frequently and more frequently and more frequently. They print too many number ones. Here's the new Iron Man number one, and then 5 months later you get another Iron Man number one.
Oh, I've got Iron Man number one. It's
that means nothing now. It means nothing now.
You got the 800th Iron Man number one.
The only thing the one addendum to that I might make is, if you're going to do that, if you had a complete run, maybe, a couple of writers or artists do a 20-issue run, on Detective Comics or something like that. If you had them all, if you had the entire run, and if they're in pristine condition, and it's 30 or 40 or 50 years from today's date, maybe. But to go back to your point, I probably just explained a bunch of stuff I don't need to, just to basically make the point you made is, this is not a collector's hobby now. Now, if you love them and you have a lot of scratch, and you want to chase down things, now in that sense it can be a collector's hobby, but that's for people that have a love of it. And
two, you can buy some 60s and 70s era comic books for 50 cents to $1 a piece.
Oh yeah.
If you want to just go back and see what it was like from the beginning, see what I like looking at the old artwork from that area, because it's so much different than what it is now.
It evolved a lot. Okay, so let's get back to the movie. So you loved it. I liked it. I did not love it. Although I have only seen it once, I'll say, as the days have passed since I've gotten farther away from it, it's occupying a better space in my mind.
Okay.
And that's kind of weird. I don't know why that is. You would think it would be kind of the other way, like you would come out from all the explosions and action and go, wow, that was amazing. And then as the time passed, you would kind of move the other way. But I really haven't. It's occupying a better space for me. I do think that I am looking forward to repeated viewings. I may get one more in the theater. And after that, we're going to get an extended cut with about 30 extra minutes in it.
You think he'll come to the theaters, or do you think he'll just come straight to DVD?
I've heard that discussed. I can't see it coming back in theater. The movie had some problems, and even the box office, maybe at one point they were a little worried, but although it's performing now, but crowded in with all the other stuff coming out.
Right.
I mean, where do you put it? Where do you run it? And the theaters don't like a 3-hour movie. I don't think it would do the box office.
Yeah.
I really don't.
You're probably right. Unless it was something limited, 1-time, 2-time run.
And I just recently, for all of his problems, I love Zack Snyder's Watchmen. I love it.
Yeah.
And that really was an accomplishment, because that's the book or the series that people said for years that, you couldn't make it.
Yeah.
You couldn't film it. You couldn't make a movie.
Well, it's more one of those pulp comics. It's really hard to pin down that storyline.
And I have seen it, I don't know how many times, I couldn't count. I had, like a theatrical version and an unrated version. And basically I had seen the same version or cut of this film for years since it come out. About 2 months ago, I got a digital copy of the extended director's ultimate cut, whatever it is. It's much longer.
Yeah.
And
it's a long movie already to begin with.
Much better. And I fell in love with it all over again. And one of my problems with Batman Superman, there's some things there that are problematic, but my biggest problems are probably with what's not there. Yeah. And the way it was cut, and some choices about what to leave and what to take. But I think by the time the fans who really are interested in a much longer version with all that extra stuff, I think I will love it more or like it more when I get that.
They've probably released some of the extended scenes, or at least one of them I've seen, and it does add to the movie a whole lot.
Yeah. it can, depending on who you are. Again, now my friends that I talked about earlier would mean anything to them.
Right.
They probably would have confused them more or wouldn't have added to their enjoyment if they already enjoyed it. Okay, well, let's just start at the beginning. So we get what I was initially concerned about, because I think I commented in here about it, but in execution, once I saw it, I was okay with it. And it's Thomas and Martha Wayne getting killed in Crime Alley again.
Yes.
I had commented in here before that we didn't need to see it again. However, the way it was done, and because it was done mercifully brief, and because it has a callback later in the movie, ultimately I was okay with it. It was economical. Did it really 100% have to be there? Probably not, but it was economically used, and again lifted straight out of Dark Knight Returns with the pearls getting caught on the slide of the pistol.
I was thinking that too. You always see those pearls, but you never really see the reasoning behind the pearls, except for in that one comic book.
Now, all that having been said, even though now it was done and I'm okay with it for all the reasons I just said, let's all make an agreement with each other right now. No more origin stories.
Well, now
I don't. Never again. Let's make a rule. Never again do Thomas and Martha Wayne. Do we need to film a scene with them getting killed in Crime Alley?
Do you think though that they're possibly setting up the what was it, the Flashpoint series where Thomas and Martha turned into the Batman and the Joker because Bruce died? They got a really heavy hitter for Thomas Wayne if it's just that one cameo.
I can't see that. Not for a wide audience.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, now having said that, we just talked about all these deep comic references and stuff. I think that would confuse people way too much.
You think so?
Wait, his parents are alive. Wait, his dad's Batman. What's going on?
Yeah.
No. Well, and they've already got the course set. I think it was there to do exactly to bookend the movie. We get that, and we get the funeral, and it's exactly what we get at the end of the movie. Martha doesn't have to die tonight. Then we end, and then the movie's bookended with funerals.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Thomas seemed like he was a little bit more aggressive too than the previous.
Yeah, and that's out of Frank Miller's book too, that he actually makes a move to fight the mugger or whatever, which is interesting depending on how you look at it. Now you can go, that's very brave and paints a new picture of Thomas Wayne, or one could argue he just got his family killed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it serves its purpose. Right. Somebody said to me, and I didn't pick up on this, and I'm just assuming what I heard was correct, that the lady playing Martha Wayne is Maggie from Walking Dead, which makes
I guess
makes them two from Walking Dead.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
Coming out as the Negan or whatever.
Yeah, just kind of a 6 degrees of separation kind of thing. It was like, oh, okay. Two Walking Dead folks. Anyway.
You know how they announced that he was going to be Thomas Wayne was that they showed that painting going into the studio that had him as Thomas Wayne on the painting going into it. They didn't actually announce it.
I guess I saw that.
Yeah, they had like the oil paintings they put up over the fireplace. And they had, the Thomas and Martha sitting there, and it was obviously him. And that's how they announced that he was going to be the Thomas Wayne. So.
He was just there.
Yeah.
And here he is. Okay. What else about that? You get the scene of Bruce running off at the funeral. Little Bruce falls down the well or the cave or whatever. We've seen that. Then the bats emerge and surround him, and he is elevated or lifted up in this swirl of bats to the. How did that hit you?
Man, while it was going on, I was like, man, this is stupid. Why are you getting into this? Because Bruce Wayne and Batman are supposed to be the regular person. He's trained a lot, but he's just an average person. So why are you adding this little mysticism to it? And then at the end of that, says something along the lines of, well,
in my dream,
it didn't happen in my dream. It happened like that, but it was a whole lot worse.
I was fine with it because it was so effective and so visually stunning. I mean, by the time we even got to that, and this was just within the first few minutes, and the score is swelling,
right.
and he's rising, and I was in. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Well, I mean, it was cool looking, but I was like, why would they? But then, as saying it's a dream sequence, and it's okay.
I don't know. I just didn't. My mind didn't just immediately go there.
Yeah.
Like, what's he doing? He doesn't have powers. He can't fly. What the? But some did. Some people did. I was totally fine with it just because of the effect it had on me.
Right.
And I was like, again, at that point, I'm like, oh, I'm in.
Looks cool.
I'm in for this. That would kind of pass a little bit after about another hour and a half or so. But I just didn't. There was a period there, the first half to 2/3 of the movie, where I was really in. And somewhere, I don't know, maybe in that second act, I don't know, when it started getting choppy and convoluted, and then I couldn't follow it, which is funny because we get all these deep comic references, but I mean, just basic story, a lot of the story.
Yeah.
I couldn't follow. It didn't make any sense. Maybe it wasn't supposed to. I don't know. So then and I may be out of sequence. I may try to forget some scenes. I don't have any notes or anything in front of me. We go to Africa and we get that whole thing. Did you know that the CIA photographer was supposed to be Jimmy Olsen?
Yeah, gets killed right in the very beginning.
I just listened to an interview, actually before we did this, I just was listening to an interview with Zack Snyder, and he said that in the extended cut, we hear him introduce himself. Why he cut that, I don't know. And it serves no purpose. It's just to kind of a nod to, like, well, let's just make his name Jimmy Olsen. But you get this whole thing, and what we'll find out later, this is one of many of Lex's machinations to draw Superman out using Lois Lane. A lot of people critical about the whole damsel in distress, and every time Lois has to get saved, every time Superman shows up is to save Lois. Now look, if I'm writing a movie today and I'm creating new characters, I'm writing a drama or something like that, I'm going to be sensitive to something like that. I may not, like we talked about with Hunger Games, you got the strong female characters. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
The problem is that's not who we're talking about. We're talking about Lois Lane.
Right.
Her function historically has been this. She does two things. She gives drama. Superman has to rescue somebody, and we're worried, and it motivates him emotionally because he loves her. And two, she gives us a lot of exposition because she's always on the case. She's a journalist, right?
Yeah.
She's always sniffing around, and we kind of occupy the same place she does, following her around, trying to figure things out. And I mean, from the first page she appeared on through all the movies, that's the function of Lois Lane, right? And I actually thought not only, well, I won't say that criticism isn't fair, but she is very important to this movie.
Yeah. You know, she's an important character as far as the Superman universe. I mean, she's probably next to Superman and maybe Lex Luthor, probably the most important.
But she had a lot to do in this movie.
Right.
She was working overtime. So you get that whole thing, and that gets a little strange, too. I don't even know that scene was really necessary. Probably could have just cut that whole scene, and because there are so many of these other things, I almost called him Luke. I'm stuck in Star Wars. Lex has all these little traps and little machinations going. He's manipulating everybody, and since I'm on that, again, probably all over the place, but here's a big problem I had with this movie, and I don't really think I've heard anybody else say this yet. What was Lex Luthor trying to do? Strike that. We know what he was trying to do. We see his methods. We see all these little things he's doing, the manipulations, and why? I never got the sense or understood that he was after anything, that he's trying to accomplish anything, or that he stands to gain Do you understand what I'm saying? I didn't see any financial gain. I didn't see any power gain. I don't understand. There was never any motivation for him to do what he was trying to do.
Well, you know, it's different. Like in the comic books, too, the different Lexes have different motivations. Some of them are hungry for power, and some of them just have Superman in check, you know, that they're worried that he's going to go off on some tangent and burn that place down. But
well, famously, like we've seen in all the other Superman movies and stuff before, it's always the same thing, which is really ridiculous. It always has to do with some kind of land deal.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor's always trying to get some land. And hey, if you dream of taking over the world, or you want to make yourself the wealthiest person in the world through crime or extort, whatever, and Superman is in your way, I get that. But what I'm saying is, even in those other movies and all those other incarnations, Lex is opposed with Superman because Superman can stop his plans. What I'm saying in this, though, is what was his plan? And when I say his plan, I mean we saw his plans as he's doing all these things, but why?
what was the goal?
What did he want? You know, your bad guy's got to be after something. He's got to want something. It doesn't even have to be anything complicated. It could just be power. I want to rule the world, or I want to have money. It just, that made everything ring a little empty to me. And he's just there to kind of push things along. I mean, did you see something that I didn't, or
It seemed to me,
did I miss something?
Like they were trying to make a combo of Lex and the Joker together, because the way that Lex came off was kind of crazy-ish.
I heard people comparing it to like Jim Carrey's Riddler and whichever one that was, Batman Forever.
Yeah. But I mean, it seemed like that's what it was. It wasn't Lex. It wasn't any Lex that we've seen before. And it wasn't any other character necessarily we've seen before.
Hopefully never see again.
Oh, gosh.
I have a theory. I'm going to have a theory. Let me throw this out. I noticed as I'm watching, or not a theory, maybe this is an idea. I hope they go this route. As I'm watching, I noticed they pushed down several times on the fact that he's actually Lex Luthor Jr. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
He's like, no, my father was Lex Luthor, and whatever. There were 2 or 3 different times when that was, it seemed to be really on Front Street. And I thought, well, maybe this is an out here, you know, that maybe later on the real Lex Luthor might pop up and we can get rid of this knucklehead. And to that, somebody else I saw continuing in that logic was pointing out in the comics, and I'm not a big Superman guy. I had known this but had forgotten it. There is a storyline or a spell where like someone emerges claiming to be Lex's son, and it turns out that it's a clone.
Yeah.
It's not like a biological child, it's a clone. So there's a possibility there, and to be honest, and it made me wonder, did they do that on purpose in case they needed to hedge their bets? Right?
Well,
like if it comes out to critical acclaim and Eisenberg is getting an Oscar for being Lex Luthor, we could just keep rolling.
Yeah.
But now we've got an out in case we need to go, well, this is Lex Jr., it's a clone. Well, let's bring in the real Lex Luthor.
You know, clones are always a little crazy, so.
Yeah. And now Bryan Cranston's phone's ringing or whatever. Or somebody suggested Billy Zane, and I actually thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, he's
hadn't seen him in a long time.
Kind of superhero-ish, you know.
He could do that. He could do that. He looks like Lex. Yeah. So I hope they go that route. Did not like Eisenberg in this role, and to be fair, it's not him. It's this incarnation of what and I get it. It's one of those kind of things that probably sounded more clever sitting around Zack Snyder's dining room table when they're kicking around ideas. Let's make Lex, for the modern age. He's like a sinister kind of Silicon Valley .com millionaire. If I'd have been sitting there, I'd have probably thought, wow, that's pretty clever. In execution, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it's like you almost felt bad for him, as awkward as he was through the whole thing. Like when he was giving that speech in the very beginning, he kept stumbling over his words. And
and it's Eisenberg being Eisenberg, and he is what he is. So it's not like he's just awful. It's just he's occupying the role that and trying to do what he can with it. But in a movie like this, where everybody else is so morose and sort of, I don't want to say subdued. I think maybe there's an intensity there, and to have this guy come in with the clown shoes, it makes that stand out even more. It makes it seem even more over the top.
Lex isn't built for comic relief. I mean, that whole character is not there for comic relief. It seems like that's kind of what they were going for a little bit.
Well, and like where I'm more invested, and I've complained about this, same thing for me with Doctor Doom. They just won't get it right.
No.
Just won't get it right. Rather than giving him the gravitas that he deserves, you get this kind of, mustache twirling.
Yeah.
The exaggerated whatever. So I hope they'll maybe take that door and go for an out with him. Talking about performances, I don't guess there's been any dispute or anything, a few rare ones here and there, but I mean largely everybody seems to be on board with Ben Affleck, right?
Oh yeah.
That he's one of the shining parts of this movie. He killed it, no problem. I don't have a problem with it. Don't assume you did. I think he did great. Actually, if anything, it got me really excited about the Batman Solo movie,
right?
Which from what I've heard, he has written a script that's supposed to be really good. That doesn't mean that's the script they'll film.
Right.
And I don't know for sure that they've given it to him yet to direct. Have you heard that confirmed? Everybody kind of thinks they are.
I haven't, but it would be very strange if they didn't, let him direct that.
Especially now, because out of everything he does, his directing credentials now are the best thing in his resume.
Well, he even said after this one that, he got to sit with Zack Snyder and watch him do some of the stuff he does, and said that his directing is like going to be way above what it was. He knows so much more about the shots and the CGI and the stuff now.
Yeah, okay.
Good training process for him.
With him and Jeremy Irons as Alfred, I want to see that movie. I want to see that prequel.
Yeah.
I want to see him 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Right.
Or maybe even like a Batman Year One, which we haven't seen yet, although folks have talked about doing it, where we can see him from the beginning. And Affleck's at a good age where he can probably play a little younger, play a little older.
Yeah.
But I want to see that movie, and I think since his performance is good and he's occupying that character, I think they're totally fine at this point giving him. I wouldn't start monkeying with the works too much. You know what I mean? You're on to a good thing. Let Ben have it. He's not. He's tested. He's true. I mentioned Jeremy Irons as Alfred. You okay with that?
Oh yeah, I liked it. It kind of goes along with the Michael Caine, the British older guy. I'm good with that.
And we didn't get a whole lot of his backstory and stuff. We'll probably get this later. But this is the Scott Snyder Alfred, the one who is, they didn't give us his backstory, but when he was reinvented, as a former MI6 agent, was actually the Wayne's bodyguard, and kind of a tough guy himself. And you kind of get that. That's kind of the version you sense we get. Not
the guy who taught Bruce how to fight and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That he can get in there and scrap too, and can fly the Batwing as a drone while drinking scotch.
We don't want to drink and fly.
Wasn't that great? And then right after he gets on to him for drinking up the wine cellar and stuff, and he's sitting there, he's like, I'll take over. I got your drone. And he's sitting there slamming drinks, and man, they're having a good time fighting crime, I guess.
Yeah, their chemistry is awesome together, I think, between Ben Affleck.
If you really saw it. I mean, he didn't get a lot of screen time. And I like that at least Irons seems to be a very giving actor. He seems to understand where he occupies, what he occupies in this movie. He wasn't trying to steal the show or be a Academy Award winner. Jeremy. He occupied that role. I got a few minutes worth of stuff. I'll roll with it. I did hear somebody say this the other day. I thought this was interesting, that there really have not been any bad incarnations of Alfred. Really, ever.
No.
Even in the quote unquote bad films.
Yeah, he's lovable. I mean,
I wonder if that is that something is Alfred not hard to get right, or is it just it's been a series of good actors?
I think the character is kind of one of those lovable characters that we all see as like the fatherly figure, growing up. I don't think you can get that wrong, really. I mean, I'm sure if you tried to make him a 20-something with tattoos all over his arm, it'd probably be bad.
Yeah, if you really went overboard trying to make it something else, like they did with Lex or the new Joker with the grills and the tattoos and whatever. Yeah, I get that. Let's jump ahead. We basically get the rule of three, right? We get 3 confrontations between our titular heroes here. They first meet each other at the cocktail party or what it is.
Before that, you get where the introduction of Superman, when him and Zod are fighting in the city.
Yeah.
And Batman's down there, or Bruce Wayne's down there, and he sees him destroy Wayne Towers, and he's pulling people out, and sees all the destruction.
That's still in that early part of the movie, and that follows right after the other, and again, it just kept building. It was really going somewhere, and I'm in.
That car chase that they had, that very beginning car chase, where they followed his car through town. That's like the most amazing scene I think I've ever seen.
But what I was talking about is where they actually meet and have a confrontation. First is it's a low level confrontation. They meet at the party and have their little back and forth. Well, Mr. Wayne, don't you think every time you guys do a piece over there, they kind of get a little snarky with each other. And
Eisenberg hits him in the chest and says, "I would not want to pick a fight with this guy." Oh,
yeah,
horrible.
Yeah, and of course we know later. As far as I'm concerned, he knows who they are because he's setting all this. He sends Bruce Wayne the invitation, to come, and you may not get the sense at the moment, but he's setting that up. Secondly, we get Batman is chasing down the thugs and killing them.
Yeah. What's with that?
Batman murdering like crazy.
Batman's killing some folks.
Yeah. And what gets me is not even, you can't even say like, in defense of anyone else or, because people are like, well, Batman has killed before. I'm like, yeah, but he's like in the commission of his own felony.
Right.
He's just trying to go steal something else from somebody else.
And like in the most absurd, like he took the guy out with a .50 caliber on the front of the car.
And then drove through the car. It's not even enough to shoot him.
Yeah.
The car wrecks. I'm going to drive through the car. And that was pretty over the top. And so Superman shows up and interrupts things, sort of. What gets me is there's all this gunfire and destruction going on, and Superman does absolutely nothing to stop any of it.
He just flies down, stands there, and lets the Batmobile hit him.
Forget all them other guys, I guess. That's their second meeting, and then I guess thirdly is when they have the big fight. Well, here I am. That was done almost perfectly. I might even could have handled a few more minutes of that, and I'm just talking about just the fight scene. There was a few, maybe a few strange things about it. Yeah. Okay, so Superman. We talked about Affleck.
Oh, I'm a Superman.
Now you're a Superman guy. I really am not. I don't have any problems with him. I'm just.
Cavill is probably the worst Superman I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And there's been some bad ones, but
that's pretty strong.
Yeah, he's bad.
Now you going to lay it on him?
No, because he's not the character. And to play Superman correctly, you're 2 characters. You're Clark Kent,
right,
and you're Superman, and he plays both characters exactly the same.
Yeah. I said that to you after we came out. I think that I just didn't. And he's so morose.
Yeah, monotone, no inflection. He smiled like twice.
There's no real. You remember, like at the end of Man of Steel, and he's trying to save those people from Zod, and Zod's trying to kill those people, and he snaps Zod's neck, and he's like, "No!" Compare that to what we saw in this movie. He's in a Senate hearing in the U.S. Capitol, and the whole dadgum place blows up. Everybody in the room is dead, and he just kind of looks around.
Just stands there.
Oh, well. Is it really him, though? Is he doing the best that you can?
I just don't think he's a very good actor.
Okay. I'm not going to push you off of it. If that's your opinion.
The Superman parts in that movie maybe not be the best parts ever, but I think that if you had a different. Like I like Tom Welling. I don't know if that's just because I've had so much time.
Smallville.
I think he would do a pretty good job.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. You know how I think I might have understood something incorrectly in the movie, and I just kind of, it's more of it's not really specified, so I thought maybe get your opinion. It's kind of like how you hear song lyrics wrong. When we were watching, and you've got Scoop McNairy, who was the Wayne employee who had his legs broken in the Battle of Metropolis.
Yeah.
And later had him amputated. And we see that he's very embittered. He hates Superman, and he's been rejecting the money that he's getting from the victims' fund, and he's living in squalor and all that.
Do you think he was rejecting it, or do you think that Lex was rejecting him?
Well, could be. I was thinking he wasn't cashing the checks.
I don't see him being so upset at Bruce Wayne. I don't see him not cashing the checks. So I'm thinking Lex might have intercepted.
All right. Well, I maybe misunderstood that too then, because I guess it was Lex that put the note on there about you let your family die or whatever.
Right.
All right. So Lex shows up, and he says, hey, I'll give you some scratch, and I'll give you this new fancy Professor X wheelchair, and if you will go and just tell your story, go to these Senate hearings and testify and all that. So Scoop McNairy shows up, and there's a bomb in his wheelchair, and then the whole place blows up, and everybody gets killed dead. When I watched it, when we were sitting in the theater, and I watched it for the first time, here's what I thought. And I knew what was going to happen. I mean, I kind of sensed it, that, oh my goodness, this is
a plot point here.
This room's about to blow up. But I was thinking or understood at the time that, I don't know his character name, Scoop McNairy, the actor in the wheelchair, that he was like a suicide bomber, that he was complicit in blowing up. And like a day or two later, when I was sitting there thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe he didn't. Maybe Lex put a bomb in his chair.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
It was weird. I don't know why my mind went to that scenario versus him being unaware, because then the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, did you catch the thing about the Granny's peach tea or peach juice?
Yeah.
She had the thing on her counter. And then Lex suddenly is gone. He tells Mercy to go in there and take a seat. And then Lex doesn't come in.
I mean, I knew that he knew the bomb was coming. And I mean, I was getting nervous enough to know the bomb was coming. My question was that, like, did Scoop McNairy in his wheelchair push the button and blow the bomb up? Or
I don't think
he
so.
didn't know he was sitting on a bomb.
Yeah, I don't think Lex would have left it up to him.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. He would not have trusted somebody else to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It hit me at like the weirdest time. I'm like, wait a minute. He didn't know about that. I don't know why my mind went there, or why I just assumed that it was.
I was kind of mad they blew up Mercy in the building, because she's kind of a big character.
I didn't think they did. Or we saw her later, didn't we?
No,
she was sitting in there, but we saw her later, too.
Did we?
I think so.
I don't think so.
I think there's a little extra story going on there.
Well, maybe, but
could be.
I was assuming they blew up Mercy in the building, who is Lex's kick butt bodyguard.
They
/
did, in that she was still in the room, but I think we saw her later, implying something, supernatural or superpower.
She's a clone
or something.
Too.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Yeah.
Here's some overall kind of thematic thoughts that I had. Everybody keeps pushing down on, I think they see one element of it, or one side of the coin, but not the other, that it's fascistic, and Bruce Wayne is basically Bat Trump, right? He's xenophobic and embittered and angry, and if there's even a 1% chance that he could be our enemy, then we've got to make a 56% effort to 100% destroy him, or whatever it is.
Burn this place down. Yeah.
And that he's unwilling to recognize that not everybody from outer space is bad. Zod was actually the bad guy. Superman was trying to help. So you get that whole immigration xenophobe thing.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that theme is there. That I'm scared of this alien.
Trump with bigger hands and a better hair.
Right. I'm scared of this alien that this threat that's sneaking in here and can do whatever, and kill us all and that kind of thing. So I get that, but I don't think people see the other side of that, because to me, I see that case being made, and that ain't the way to be. But then I see over here Superman, and he wants to talk. Let's talk things out, and I'm here for good, because I believe people are basically good. And even the lady at the senator or the congresswoman or whatever she is, she's like, "This is not how we do things in America." So they're all they have a very liberal sensibility, right? It's
we have discussions about liberty.
It's kind of leftist, right?
Yeah,
and where Bruce Wayne is kind of fascistic and right wing, these guys are very leftist. So what I thought was, and even like in those moments when every time Superman walks into something and it goes wrong and there's bad consequences and everybody in the room blows up and he's just looking around, and I'm thinking, here's the other side of that coin. You're being too naive. You're gambling on the reasonableness of other people, or you're assuming that other people share your values, and they don't. They'll blow up a whole room full of people while you're sitting around waiting to talk. So, just for what it's worth, when you watch the film, if you watch it a second time, watch through. Not you've watched it a second time, but for people listening, if they watch it on a repeated viewing, watch it through that prism and see those two sides and kind of see where you fall, socially or socio-politically. Or
see, then he changes though. I'm going to go try to get Batman on my side, and if not, I guess I'll just kill him.
Sort of. Well, that's when they meet, when Lex has his mom.
And why didn't he just fly around listening for his mom's voice or something?
Or just tell Batman.
Yeah.
Hey, I need your help. He has my mom.
Yeah. Cell phone.
Hey, wait, listen, you don't understand. Bruce, we don't have any time. If we don't have any time, say it.
Yeah.
And they'd keep going and keep going. You don't understand. We don't have time. Hey, how about this? Hey, Lex has my mom. I need your help.
Yeah.
Spit it out. It's so weird. But, it's a conceit of the... we've got to have that to keep it pushing forward. And then you get the whole thing with Martha. Why did you say that? It's Martha. And we take the greatest comic book coincidence of the century and turn it into...
Yeah.
A lot of people are very critical of that. I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with it. And here's why I think people were not okay with it. Because it was done. The idea is very clever.
Yeah, I like the idea, but it was done very strange.
It was very clumsy.
Yeah.
It was very clumsy and very clunky and very abrupt.
And the way Lois runs in and says, "That's his mother."
And she's been nowhere near to hear the conversation.
Right. Doesn't even know what he said.
They go for several minutes about, why did you, not several minutes, but a couple of minutes at least, why did you say that?
Who's Martha?
What are you talking
Who's
about?
Martha?
And finally, and of course, why he won't spit it out. I'm talking about my mom. Lex has my mom. I need your help. Why could he not just say that? But then she comes running out of nowhere. She's been running across town in her high heels, comes running in and goes, "It's his mother." And I'm like, she's not been hearing their conversation. How does she know?
It's so funny to me, too, how kryptonite affects him. It either is just like on the verge of killing him, or he's kind of just not powerful anymore.
He gets queasy.
Oh, I'm a little lightheaded. Gonna go lay down.
Then we get one of the most incredible scenes in the movie, the Martha rescue. When Batman gets up to go rescue Martha and
starts killing some more folks.
That's great. That whole scene that's the Batman we've been waiting for, and a great scene. I think had at that point, once we'd gotten Martha rescued and now we're super friends, had they gone and, captured or put down Lex or done whatever they needed to with him, the movie could have ended there and it would have been a much better movie.
Yeah.
But no.
You got 30 more minutes of Doomsday.
Here comes Doomsday. And Lex goes into the Kryptonian ship, into the Kryptonian toilet water, and dips Zod's body and then does something with his blood. Did you understand any of that?
No, I still don't.
I don't. I don't understand and I know it's just made up fiction, science fiction, but I don't feel like anybody cared that I understood what was going on.
Yeah.
There was something about it was rejecting Zod's body, and
well, I think it said that it wasn't allowed to regenerate Zod's body
right,
because
he's evil or whatever.
Yeah, and then he says, "Where's the council at now?" And they're like, "They're all dead." Well, then go ahead and do it, you know. But
and then put his blood in there too, and the whole thing was weird. And maybe that's some stuff that'll make sense later when we see.
I'm sure it's setting up because it's setting up that whole dark side thing. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that maybe even Darkseid's been manipulating all this to begin with. Well, then he creates some version of Doomsday, which just looked awful. It just looked awful. Yeah. I mean, from the moment he clawed his way through the amniotic sac or whatever, it just, you know, from where I had come from the beginning of the movie, when it was really intense and paced well, to this
now, once he started sprouting out the bones and stuff, it looked a little better, but still was not very good.
And here's another thing about that, too. The trailers really ruined this movie in a lot of ways for me. Not ruined it, but, and I won't say spoil it. It didn't spoil it, but, I mean, it was like about every 15, 20 minutes. I was like, oh, okay, there's that scene from the trailer. The next one's coming up. The next one's coming up. We got a little synopsis of the entire movie, with the exception of the last few minutes, in the trailers. And I really, really, really wish that they had not shown Doomsday. I wish they had not shown the first appearance of Wonder Woman, because when they showed that in the trailer, we knew. Yeah,
we knew who Wonder Woman was.
When her appearance would be, because he says, was she with you? I thought she was with you. So we know that's happening. And it was just scene to scene to scene to scene. It was all chronological, and I wish they had not shown all that. I really do. Had even some of that stuff been new, I was wondering, I thought, well, maybe if I had no clue and I saw Doomsday for the first time sitting in the movie, would I have thought differently? Would I have liked it better? I don't know.
Do you think, because that picture they keep bringing up about Wonder Woman's picture has Chris Pine in it, do you think they're setting up a Wonder Woman movie?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, it's already on the.
Oh, really?
It's on the calendar.
Cool.
I think it's filming, maybe, or it's in production. I think.
I'd be willing to see that. For
no,
sure.
it's already on the calendar.
Really super impressed with Wonder Woman in this movie.
Yeah, my thing was, end it, go take out Lex and lock him up and end the movie there, maybe with some kind of teaser. The problem is if he did that, then it takes that whole 20 minutes out the end, or 15 minutes, whatever it is, with Doomsday, and she does. That's really her action.
Right.
They really didn't have their act together at all. Lois, for some reason, had taken the kryptonite spear and thrown it in the water. I don't know why.
Man, I kind of expected Aquaman to bring it back. Didn't she?
Well, she just threw it in like a puddle.
I know, but I still kind of expected Aquaman to bring it up,
She didn't throw it in the ocean. No, I knew at that point we weren't going to get anything like that.
That incredible gulf between Metropolis and Gotham City.
But there they are. Now they're fighting Doomsday. And you've got, Superman. Yeah, they crossed the bay. You've got Superman and Wonder Woman, who can fairly well hold their own. And they even say to each other, where's the stick? Where's the kryptonite stick? Oh, it's because Batman had it last. Now, why? They say that, and nobody makes any move to go get it.
Lois,
who goes back to get it goes to get it after she threw it in the water to begin with, and
then she gets stuck and has to get saved by Superman.
Who then flies with it, which confused me. I would have thought it made him queasy, but
yeah.
Anyway,
it's that kryptonite. You just never know. When it's a plot point, it doesn't react any way.
So it just seemed to me like. Once they figured out and they looked at each other like, we need that, and nobody made any move to go get it. And Batman really, he doesn't have much to do at that point. That'd have been an opportune time to go get the kryptonite stick.
Doesn't affect him at all. He could just run in there.
Hey, we'll hold him off.
Yeah.
Just waiting to see Superman go, Batman, get up off your cape and go get the stick, dude.
You're not going to affect Doomsday.
And then he does that whole thing where he tries to draw him back into the city. I don't know. That whole thing just was a big hot mess, those last few minutes. And I wonder if maybe that's not, some people are judging the entire movie.
Well, it is the last thing you see, so it sticks with you,
It just was not necessary, and I just, and another reason they did it is because, now here comes the big spoil, the big end. It's because Zack Snyder, the same way he has been dreaming and desiring for years to do. He wanted to do originally as an adaptation of Dark Knight Returns, just a straight up adaptation. So this is what we get. He also wanted to do Death of Superman.
Death of Superman, yeah.
So he did it, for better or for worse. He did it.
But they do it in such a crazy way. Like, why couldn't they just? I understand Superman dead, leave him dead. But no, at the very last of the movie, you get that little dirt coming up off the coffin, you know. Who in their right mind, even people that don't have any knowledge of comic lore, any of that, nobody in their right mind thinks he's dead for dead. I know, but you could have left him in the movie, though.
We've been talking about this movie for 3 years. We've been talking about Justice League.
Right.
Cavill signed on for like 2 or 3 more movies. I mean, it was so unnecessary. And I understand Snyder's reasoning for it all. He says, and I think the only reasoning for it is because he always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And he had
an extra 10 minutes.
The rat was in charge of the cheese, and he wanted to do it. So he got to do it. But
he cut out the Bruce Wayne getting into all the different vehicles and added that to the end.
Snyder says it helps the plot with Batman leading the effort to get the Justice League together to pursue the other metahumans, because they know something bad's coming. They don't know what, but something else is coming, and we're going to need some help, and we're going to need to get all of our super friends together.
Yeah.
Now, if Superman's there, and he can do pretty much anything, if Wonder Woman's there and she's not far behind, I mean, the urgency to go get all those people isn't really there. But now Batman knows, hey, we're going to have some help.
Yeah.
So that leads us to, we did get glimpses of Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg. And what'd you think about the way that was done? Basically, Wonder Woman looked at him on her computer. How'd you like Batman and Wonder Woman trading email?
That's how it should happen.
Hey, girl, what's up? This bat's coming at you, Bruce. Yeah. Brucey,
catch your dubs.
And he's like, who are you? And they're trading instant message. I don't know what.
Follow Batman on Twitter.
And it is that world we live in now. But there was just something so.
It seems like
peculiar to me about the idea of like Batman and Wonder Woman trading emails. Like,
seems like every 15 minutes they're setting up a different movie.
I mean, can you see Batman pulling like a notepad out of his utility belt going, what's your email address? What's your email address? Okay. That's Diana.prince.@gmail. Huh?
Yeah.
She has to
have an Amazon account.
WW_. Yeah. Amazon. Amazon. Good job. Good job. What was I asking about? Oh, our introductions to the Justice League. What?
Yeah, it's kind of a stupid way to do it, I thought.
Yep. Here's what they should have done. I got all this figured out. Because I know I've made all those movies I've made. Batman, Superman have their fight. Martha, why'd you say that? Oh, it's my mom. Lex says my mom. They rush and go take out Lex, put him in prison, and now we're super friends, and let's go, had they then, not like a post-credit scene. I don't want one of those where I got to wait through the credits and then see a scene, but like, you know how the credits start to roll, and then you get a shot of something else?
Yeah.
And then a few more credits roll, and you get a shot of something else. I would have liked to have seen that and then see, now that our story has concluded, or the story we came to see today, this chapter, now that our chapter has concluded, here's what's next for our heroes. And it kind of bridges that gap into, now we're investigating and looking for these people. And we know, you know what I'm saying? Because the way it was shoehorned in.
Yeah, it was like right in the
between,
middle. It was right before the big fight.
Batman was waiting on the roof.
Yeah.
And Superman had to go talk to Lex.
Push Lois off the roof.
Yeah. But it was somewhere in there, wasn't it? Or in the middle of the fight or before the fight, we switched to Wonder Woman at her computer.
See, the only thing I really like about Marvel and their little post-credit things is they set up one movie in each one.
Yeah.
This movie set up like 5 different movies all together.
Yeah.
I think he spent more time trying to set up the next movies than he did trying to figure out this movie.
Yeah, and I expect some of this stuff will be explored and revealed in Justice League. Here's something I thought today, actually, just right before you pulled in the driveway. I was just thinking about it. I think that all of these movies, like Man of Steel, Batman, Superman, and the Justice League movie to follow it, I think they will all look better in context together.
Yeah, probably once you get the whole story.
Right.
Then you can marathon, kind of like Star Wars. Star Wars
because there will be some stuff. We'll get the answer. Was Flash? What did Flash mean? What was he talking about? Was he running through the Speed Force? What is this? I'm too early. Lois is the key. Snyder says that wasn't all just random stuff we'll fill in later. He says it is part of the story.
So do you think when he wrote Man of Steel, you think he had the plan for this movie?
No.
So you think he's just adding?
No, because there was this happened during talks pre-production about a Man of Steel sequel. They were going through villains. Could we do this Brainiac? Could we do this one? Could we do that one? And then somebody just said it out loud, and then it went from there. But no, there was never any intent.
Yeah.
No, it was just intended to be a Superman movie and maybe a sequel, and it just kind of snowballed into this. Now, that being said, he has wanted to do for years. I don't think he's admitted this publicly, but I've heard people who've talked to him at cons and stuff say that one thing he always said he wanted to do was a straight-up adaptation of Dark Knight Returns. And, of course, they kind of missed his chance when Nolan came out with his Batman movies and borrowed some from that, too. So I think with repeated viewings, I'll like it. I think I'm going to like the extended cut. I'm
excited they got superhero movies coming out.
Yeah. And that's why I'm glad it's doing well, because I want more of these.
Right.
And look, some of them will be good, some of them won't. The Wonder Woman movie may be awesome, the Aquaman movie may stink. Who knows, man? But I want more of this. Some folks don't care, and apparently the American public does too, because they voted with their dollars.
What do you think about the Suicide Squad reshoots now?
I'm hoping that's a troll. I'm hoping that's not true.
You think? Man, I hope so too.
I don't understand why you would. I mean, the response, even to the trailers, has been so good. What Randall's talking about, there was news breaking today. I'm hoping it's an early April Fool's joke. Really, because to be honest, when I saw the first headline, that's the first thing that went through my mind. I looked to see if it was April 1st yet. I hope that's not true. I really do, because that smells a lot like what we saw with Fantastic Four. What Randall's talking about is supposedly this big, highly anticipated Suicide Squad movie is now going back to do major reshoots because they want the tone to be too dark. They want to add more humor. And to me, it's just a trailer, or just trailers. But based on what I've seen in the trailers, the balance looks good to me.
Right.
There's legitimate humor without it being clown shoes, and also, it's kind of heavy and intense like Suicide Squad should be. I hope that's not true. I hope it's just trolling. I hope it's just our April Fool's joke. I don't know.
Because I wonder now if that Deadpool movie is going to change the way. Because I like the comic book movies like they are now. PG-13, kind of like comic books are. I don't really necessarily want a whole bunch of R-rated comic book movies.
If it's not in keeping with the source material. I don't need a Superman movie that plays like the Deadpool movie. I don't need Superman talking like Deadpool. That's not cool. But now, Deadpool is Deadpool.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying any of that's good, whether you like that or not, or use that kind of language or don't. What I'm saying is, that's what that material is. It's kind of like if you don't like horror movies. You probably are smart enough then to know that you don't want to go see the next Freddy, Jason, Friday the 13th movie.
Right.
Because you know what you're going to get.
And I'm not saying I didn't like it. I like Deadpool, but I really like the comic book movies that stick to the...
Yeah, because Deadpool was successful is not a reason then to make all of them like that, right? Because anytime something is successful is not a reason to make all of them like that. And maybe I don't know, maybe that's what you're getting at, that it's kind of working the other way. The things that people didn't like about this movie are now making us go change. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, because they're different. They're different properties. Oh, well, some crossover. You know, we know Batman and Joker and all that's going to be in there too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I want more. And to be honest, man, if you would have told me, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, that in 2016 we would be getting a Batman Superman movie and this Captain America Avengers Civil War, which has got some elements of Secret Wars to it too, and you would have told me that I would be more excited about Civil War, I would have thought you were crazy. I mean, the idea of the Batman Superman movie, your mind just about can't get around it. But to be honest, the last year or so, my interest kind of shifted. I've been looking more forward to Civil War than to this.
I'm usually into the X-Men movies too, and I'm really not looking forward to this one that's coming out. It looks like it's going to be.
I'm not real into them. I'm not real invested in that. I'll go see it.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's cool. It may be good, but it's one of those, like, if it stinks, I don't care. I'm not, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not invested in this.
Well, see, I like some of them. I really like the Wolverine one, and the Last Days of Future Past. I liked it.
Yeah,
and then the First Class, I liked it too. So I'm hoping this is more like those and not like the original ones that were just kind of messy.
Oh, here's something I did want to ask you about. Even though neither one of us are necessarily in love with it, well, you did use that word. The negative reviews, and this movie has its flaws. We've touched on just a handful of them. The negative reviews, though, there was a lot of them that just really went overboard. It's one thing not to like a movie or to be critical, but, I was seeing things like, this is an embarrassment, and it's the worst since Batman and Robin, and it's just on and on and on and on. Where do you think that's coming from?
I don't know.
Why that reaction?
I think it's just because it's popular right now to not like this movie, and maybe the person who doesn't like it the most is, the coolest kid in class.
A snobby kind of thing, or yeah, you're onto something there. I just really didn't get that. I mean, if people don't like it, even if critics don't like it, they don't like it. And if it's not any good, it's not any good. And a lot of the criticism I saw was fair, but there was just this steamroll kind of thing where people were trying so hard to say, just to go overboard.
Using really big words.
Yeah. And it just felt like something was off. Man.
Yeah.
Something was not right. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but.
Well, I think that if you were to write a good review of this movie, you would probably not see it anywhere. But if you write a horrible review of this movie,
yes,
you'll probably get a lot of airtime out of it,
Yes. So. A good negative clickbait headline gets people to your side. Yes, you're right. You're right. People are more interested in the negative than they are the positive. And they will sit there and probably read the whole thing. I mean, if you see somebody has a very negative review, you're going to sit there and maybe want to read the whole thing. If you pick up and read the first few lines in a review and figure out somebody loved a movie, that's about all you need to hear.
Right.
You go, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to go see it too. You don't really want to know why somebody loved something. You want to know why they hated it. And two, there's so many internet bloggers and things like out there that to me just don't have the experience. They don't have the bona fides to really be considered in line with the Richard Ropers of the world, and so, but they are, and their aggregate reviews are put in at Rotten Tomatoes or whatever else, which was interesting because, like, at Rotten Tomatoes, I don't remember, it was in the upper 20s today, earlier today when I looked at it, which is bad. I mean,
well, it seems like it's resurging a little bit.
But when I went to IMDb, they're on like a 10-point scale,
right? And
it was like 7.4 out of 10. What?
Yeah.
And maybe even these movies to some degree are a little critic proof. Like I mention them from time to time. I like Friday the 13th movies. I like Jason, and if they make a new one of those, I'm not going to bother with reviews.
Right.
Why? It's critic proof. You know what I mean?
Jason X. Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, I like all those. I know they're cheesy and they're awful, but I like them. I've just always liked them. But they're critic proof. I mean, there's no point really to me in reviewers even bothering with them. Mm-hmm. What are you expecting? You know, like,
you expecting to win an Academy Award?
You know, man, I went to see Freddy versus Jason, and it was not Citizen Kane. Boy, I tell you,
no Oscar this year.
This wreck of a movie, this Batman v Superman holds nothing to The Godfather. You know, it's like what. It is what it is, mm-hmm. You know. So I don't know. It just has been bugging me. Mm-hmm. Hey, every movie I like, it gets negative reviews. But why they went so overboard with this? Why they went so overboard with this? And so many people out there that are reviewing and getting their reviews aggregated into the overall scores and stuff. And I don't know. Either way. Let's not give those negative folks any other attention.
Right.
Well, I felt like we just barely even scratched the surface. We could have done this for 2 or 3 more hours probably. But I guess I hit the high points, the major things that I was really concerned about whether or not Scoop McNairy brought that bomb in.
Yeah.
And knowingly. I've been thinking about that ever since we left the movie. I was like, I think I was wrong about that. But, hey, for all its problems, even though I liked it but didn't love it, I'm excited about Justice League.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in. I'm still in. I want some more Aquaman. And
how many bad movies do you think it would take for you to be like, I'm not going to that one?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know that I would.
I don't think I could either.
I would always be willing to. It would depend on who it is. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, which characters and stuff I'm invested in, like X-Men. Don't care. I mean, I'll go see it. Mm-hmm. But if I don't get a chance to go see it, no big deal.
Right.
You know, Wonder Woman, I love to go see, but not real excited. You know, more so maybe about Aquaman. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a big one because it's something we haven't seen, we haven't got.
Aquaman's different now too.
Yeah, he always kind of has been. It's just people have in their mind the Super Friends portrayal,
right?
You know, with him with his.
His little orange shirt.
Riding a dolphin with a bit in its mouth, you know, or whatever, standing up on it like a SeaWorld act or something, you know. That's not really who Aquaman is, but we'll get that figured out. This was actually closer to probably how he was really envisioned anyway. He's a pretty powerful dude. But yeah, I'm excited about that one, honestly. So it would depend, you say, you know, what would it take for me not to go? It would depend on how invested I am in the property. Mm-hmm. You know.
So I'm thinking like Batman number 45, and there's been 43 bad ones. I'm still going to go to number 45 to see just.
Well, that's the thing about that character, especially Batman, is he can always be reinvented, or not reinvented. There's always room for a new person to make another, to take that character and do something with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can make a movie and do kind of a take on Batman. You can make a movie and do, and they don't ever have to really look the same. Mm-hmm. As long as they do one thing. Don't ever film Thomas and Martha Wayne's murder again.
Just say no.
I don't ever want to see that on
No
film
more
again.
pearls in the gutter.
And on that note, let's bring it home. No more origin stories, period. No more origin stories.
If you don't know where they came from, don't watch the movie.
Who cares? I mean, if you don't know that, like, Spider-Man shoots webs and crawls up the wall, that's all you need to know. I mean, what?
Who needs to know what the radioactive spider?
And I'm hoping maybe we'll probably get a little bit of something in Civil War, but I'm hoping not much. I'm hoping they'll just throw him in and jump right in, and it's going to be a good time. So anyway, liked it, didn't love it. Randall loved it a little more. I will grow to love it, I think, with repeated viewings, and I'm super excited. I wish I could just go ahead and get my hands on the extended cut now.
Affleck going for the Oscar this year.
Not with this movie. Yeah, right. Like the Academy would give it. Are you kidding me?
Could you imagine if they did give a comic book movie?
No. Yeah. Bunch of snobs. They wouldn't do it for nothing.
No, we're watching a 3-minute movie about a paper airplane that's going to win this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for movie time. I was thinking maybe somewhere in the near future would you be interested in doing like an audio commentary track for like a movie?
Sure.
I don't know what, but
yeah.
I figure we could sit on the couch and.
Yeah. Have to be something like really like out there, something like a cult classic, something like that.
Yeah, well, but you want one that people have that they can watch, though. You know what I mean?
You think it'd be more like a commentary, like Mystery Science Theater?
Because see, I can't post it with the video of the movie because of copyright.
Yeah.
Which means, unless it's in public domain, that's why there's 100,000 video audio commentaries with The Night of the Living Dead, because it's in public domain. But at the same time, I don't want it to be something so obscure that nobody has it in their movie library. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then they can't watch it. So give it some thought.
Okay.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get some feedback on it. Okay. We'll call it quits for today. I'm Pastor Dave, sitting with Randall the Armor Bearer. This has been Movie Time. We are
They That Believe.